We got here really early. There was nothing open to eat, so we finally found this hotel with a small dining room that we ate at. Really good buffet breakfast. Brian was extremely hungry. I mean, he found a McDonald's that was open. I said, oh, okay, no McDonald's in England. We're not going to eat McDonald's on this side, but the QE2 came in this morning, and we're going to go down to the harbor in a minute and check stuff. This is Town Quay in Southampton, which is kind of like a small version of Fisherman's Wharf. Now we've got marina there and some boats and stuff there. The ferry to the Isle of Wight leaves from here in elevators, and hey, there's the QE2. We're looking for the harbor cruise to go through the harbor and stuff, and that leaves from Ocean Village. There's one that leaves from here, but we can't find the ticket booth and stuff. Having a great time, and it's very warm. The sun's out today. This is one of the marinas. This is the marina at Ocean Village, Southampton. There's a nice tapas bar and restaurant and stuff right up here that we're sitting at. Our harbor cruise starts at 11:30. It's now about 9:45 in the morning, so we're gonna walk around some more, check out a few things. Well, we've been trying to figure out how to get over to the ocean terminal so I can take some up-close pictures of the QE2 from the pier, but we can't seem to figure out how to get over there because there's all these private property and fences and stuff in between. You know, and we're running out of time. We got about an hour before the harbor cruise, so now we're going to try to figure out how to get up there after the cruise on our way back to the railroad station. But it's very pretty out here. There's a sailboat coming by. A lot of really big yachts for sale over in the, we were in the Royal Southampton Yacht Club area, which, you know, we found out later was off limits to non-members, but oh well, we're just tourists, we don't know any better. And there's some Royal Navy ship over there, or maybe Coastal Guard or something, I have no idea. I don't see any flags or anything. Ocean Village is back in there. Now, there's some pretty nice, probably very high priced apartments over here. Ocean Village. It's all private property, but you know, like I say, we'll just wander through. What can they do? Arrest us for walking through and not reading the sign? But Dad, you would just love it here in Southampton, and I'm sure Portsmouth is even cooler with all the Navy stuff. You'd really love that. But it's a wonderful, wonderful day. We're getting a bit of a breeze now. The sun's been out, and it's actually felt kind of warm with the backpack on my back. We want to try to take the early harbor cruise so we can get back and take an earlier train back to London. Have a little bit of time to relax before tonight's Bruce Springsteen concert.
Regular charter during the summer season. A couple of yachts here on the right, the Crichtons. The yellow one here is one of the old Whitbread around the world yachts, and the Maiden 2 behind it belonging to Tracy Edwards, the famous around the world sailor, wishing to do the fastest circumnavigation of the globe with that vessel.
Wow.
Further up, there's another bridge further around the corner. 4.5 miles takes you to the furthest point you can go with any boat up the river Hitchin. After that goes into the view towards there at the minute going on board. The minibus there will take the drivers back off again to get the next batch of vehicles. We are one of the largest exporters of vehicles in the UK. You should see a lot of car transporter later on the journey as well. A lot of Mitsubishis are imported to this berth here on the right. And later on we'll also see Land Rovers, Jaguars, and even the BMW Mini. Now these white structures here on the right, these are rotors for wind turbines or wind farms, used for generating the electricity. Built on the Isle of Wight, they're brought over by these two special boats here, the Blade Runners. Brought over here. Now the reason they're built on the island is due to special EEC grants. They're then taken from here and they're shipped aboard to any port or any particular country that requires this type of fixture. They do make the rest of it as well, but it's just not made on the Isle of Wight. They only make the blades and the rotors over there. There's another dry dock there on the right, known as the Empress Dock. The Empress Dock dates back to July of 1890. It was opened up by Queen Victoria. It's named after her. She was the Empress of England. Unfortunately, when she come down here, we never laid the red carpet out for her. Most upset by this, she closed the curtains and blinds and refused to wave to anyone when she left the port. Brought down from the Midland farms and stored here, ready for export to third world and developing countries. Opened up in 1983 by Princess Anne. Part of the Save the Children Fund and exporting of grain from here out to developing countries. The grain that we grow in the Midlands is too coarse for the British taste, so it's exported from here out to the continent. Big building there on the right with the blue trim belongs to Southampton PTS, Vessel Traffic Services. We've already spoken to them today. They know all about this boat and how many we have on board. They know where we're going on this cruise here as well. They keep an eye on all the shipping movements from the east to the west of the Isle of Wight right up here into the docks. The barge on the outside here, on the right here, is a accommodation barge. It's used by sailors down in Portsmouth, those who are having their ships under refit. Now going to be converted into student accommodation in the near future. Here at the moment to undergo its major work. Here's the Queen Elizabeth II then, here on the right hand side. QE2, still the longest liner to make a regular visit in the port. She's 963 feet long. See her there, she was designed as a transatlantic liner, the one from here across to New York. She's got a lot finer lines than what some of the other cruise liners have. She's designed to cut through the water with speed. Weighing in at just over 70,000 tonnes. 1,980 passengers. 980 crew. At the moment they are undergoing an MCA test, MCA drill on board, that's Maritime and Coast Guard Agency. They look after all the passenger boats, including ourselves, and they're undergoing an MCA examination at the moment to make sure they can launch the lifeboats safely. And as you can see, nearly all of them hanging over on the side and ready to be lowered on the davits. This is important, and everybody must undergo this test, usually 2 or 3 times in a year. They even have divers under the water as well. The little boat alongside, the little black and buff coloured boat, has got a diving flag up there underneath the water. With modern terrorist threats as well, you see the rigid inflatable boat on the outside here. There are actually armed security guards in the little boat, and now make sure none of these other boats around or these civilian boats get too close. See, it looks like a lot of the crew up on the top deck there, all with their life jackets on. Got a rubbish barge on the outside up here as well, the Douglas McWilliam. It's the only way they can get rid of rubbish from these ships is by chucking it into skips when it comes into a port. The only way they get fuel is by a fuel barge going alongside as well. We'll probably see that too later on. She has everything you'd expect of now on a modern cruise liner. She has been extensively refitted in the last few years. Powered by more modern diesel engines now. They were installed about 8-9 years ago. They took the funnel out and dropped the new engines down through the funnel stacks.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you about.
Of course, she has all the swimming pools on board, the shops, with special Harrods shops inside of her as well. Theatres and cinemas on board. She's due to leave from here at around 5 o'clock this afternoon. She only come in at 7 o'clock this morning. That's enough time to unload all the passengers, reload the new passengers and all their luggage, and then make their way off to their next destination. She's not as manoeuvrable as some of the other boats that come into the port. She does have to have 3, if not 4 tugs to help her on and off the berth. She doesn't have the thrusters or the capability to get off of the berth yet. We'll be a bit further away from the ship when we come back down later on. We'll be across on the other side of the channel later on the jet. Faster than any other cruise liner that comes in and around here as well, making a top speed of around 28 knots. Most modern cruise ships will cruise at around 22 or 23. It's an old-fashioned tugboat coming up here on the right-hand side, the cow shaft, which dates back to 1929. Built by the Vosper Thornycroft shipyard round in the River Itchen, and she's helped the liners like the Queen Mary and the Queen Elizabeth alongside. She went up onto the Clyde for a number of years before being left in a derelict state. She's come back down here now and they're trying to get her up into a reasonable condition. They've redone a lot of the wheelhouse there. A lot of the insides have all been refurbished and they're trying to get her up in a working order. There's a lot to be done to her though. We're now entering in here to the Ocean Dock, the start of the Ocean Dock. Built as the White Star Dock for the White Star Line back in 1911. The Olympic was the first of the 3 Olympic class liners to set out from here. Then April 10th, 1912, from this very wall here on the right, the long wall here, the Titanic sets out on her fateful maiden voyage. There's nothing really special here. There is a monument up the top end of the dock in amongst the trees. Fortunately, you can't get to it because it's within the dock, and you're not allowed down here as well because there's security within the port. There used to be a terminal building here. The last remaining section is just over the top of the crane now, the top to the right. That's the old Ocean Terminal. It was here between July of 1950 and the early 80s when it was pulled down, making way for the various types of freight you can see here. The big blue train over the back is used to bring the Jaguars into the port. It's a 2-deck crane and the Jaguars come down inside of there, they're driven off at one end. They're kept in a reasonable condition inside of that train. Top end of the dock there, you've got the large floating crane used for dockside and maintenance work. You've got the various tugboats which are used to manoeuvre all the larger ships on and off the berths. 7 tugs in total in the port. And you've got the Gopher State there, which is an American transport vessel used for all forms of military equipment. She came in here recently with some barges and tugboats to go over to their military port across the other side of the water.
Look, all the lifeboats are coming down off the Kiwi too.
One of the Isle of Wight ferries in there to the right, the Red Osprey, the older jet boat to the right of it. Brand new jet boat, Red Jet 4 on the left of it. She'll be coming into service in about 2 weeks' time. The Royal Pier here on the right hand side, dated back to 1832, was opened up by Princess Victoria before she became Queen. She used for the Isle of Wight passenger boats and steamers for many years. Even blue tunnel cruises run from there up to the early 1980s. Unfortunately, it was then set alight by vandals. Left the pier as a derelict and unsafe structure. It's been left the same ever since. nobody has the funding to get the pier up in a reasonable condition. This is the Mayflower Park on the right hand side, named after the ship Mayflower, set out with the Pilgrim Fathers off to the Americas. A monument dedicated to them below to the right of the church spire. That's called Pilgrim's Post. This is also home for the Southampton Boat Show, one of the largest shows of boats in the UK. And they take over this park here. There are a special marina on the outside, especially for the show boats and yachts in the London summer. White structure over the back there is part of the J-Rank Home District, Southampton. This is where they bring the grain in from the continent to make our bread products.
Oh, they bring it in
Now the other here, you might just open the tilt barge. Two new boats to the port of Southampton are the Oceana and the Adonia. They've recently been in here as well. The docks continue up there. There is a dry dock in the corner up there to the right, the George V dry dock. And up in the distance is Southampton's container port. You see all the cranes pointing up there. Doesn't look like there's anything up there today. It makes a change. It's normally extremely busy there. Our third largest container port in the UK, next to Felixstowe and the Thames. When you get to the top of the container port, that is literally where the waters stop. You go to the Ealing River and the River Test, and at low tide they can even dry out up there as well. The tide is still on the way out. Low tide is in about an hour's time. Building works over there on the right is part of the new Marchwood power station site. Marchwood used to have a power station years ago. It was demolished, but now that the old power station down the bottom of Southampton Waters is becoming out of date, they're building a new one over there on the old site. Two older vessels over at the old Husband shipyard there on the right, of the old tugboat Challenge. We're trying to get her up to a reasonable condition. She has had a £250,000 lottery grant to help with this.
trip to China. I came real close to book. Before I booked the trip to China, I came very close, and I looked at all the prices and stuff from booking a voyage on the QE2. But the China trip actually was less. See all those balconies up there, Brian? In front of the funnel, underneath the radar domes and stuff? See all those balconies up there? Those are the really high-priced suites. There's a couple of them that are actually two-floor suites. I wouldn't recommend it. Easy to hit some wash and fall overboard.
That wouldn't be good for the film, would it?
Not really, or for you.
I can swim.
I just went into the red on my battery again. Oh, you're fine. You're fine. Coming back home. Brian, what do you think of this harbor cruise we just...
Hello, Mark. Having a nice little trip on the river cruise here. Beautiful day here at Southampton. We're about winding the cruise down now.
HMS title. After she's been accepted by the Royal Navy and gone through her official trials, she will be used for fisheries patrols all around the UK waters.
Oh, it's brand new ship.
Now, somewhere during next year, the Vosper Craft Shipyard are expected to move out of this site. They have already sold off the land, it's going to be redeveloped. Expecting more housing and waterfront developments along here on the right-hand side. On the right-hand side here, the land on the right with the gravel works, this is known as Supermarine. Supermarine was where they originally designed and tested the first ever Spitfire planes. And the Spitfire was actually built as a seaplane, not as the fighting plane we know it as. It was built on this land here on the right-hand side. See the river continuing up there to the right, makes its way up round the corner. Past some more American tugboats up there which have been repainted, they're going out to Dubai. And the Southampton St St Mary's football stadium up there as well with the white top.
There's the Kemper Arena thing we saw when we were coming in, Brian. On the train, remember?
What?
That's the Southampton Arena there, the football stadium. I remember we...
Soccer stadium.
Yeah, this morning on the train.
Trim is an old hovercraft terminal.
We docked back there.
All around, but remember on the train we saw that. Has the loop the train made when we were coming.
These houses on the right were built at the same time as Ocean Village Marina was developed from around 1985 onwards. And they're built on the old coal wharves. They used to bring the coal in by ship then load it onto the smaller vessels that required it, or take it away by road.